Hello, guys. Welcome to another edition of Author's Corner. Today, we're going to read a little bit of the Red Book, Liber Novus, Reader's Edition by Carl Gustav Jung, edited and with and introduced by Sonu Shamdasani. Very good book. It gets heavy at the end because it's Carl Jung's own experience with what he considers to be the prophetic and the supernatural. So it gets pretty dense into it. And I really recommend you caution reading it, especially the last parts of it, because you might find yourself conjuring spirits or something like that, and you have to be careful for it. I'm not saying that he was conjuring spirits, but we have to keep in mind that this book was written, it has a part for the books that he wrote, the Black Book, in 1914. So it's a very important book because everything that I read in this program, even though it's just beginning, Author's Corner, it's because I consider that it's important literature. That in this case is kind of the prophecies that we are living a little more than 100 years ago when it was written. So for that purpose, I invite you to accompany me. Today we're going to read the three prophecies, and like the last edition of Author's Corner, you might find the relevance that has to do with what we are living today. The three prophecies, and I have to make a disclaimer, this is for educational purposes. In what sense educational? Because I want the people to be educated not only on Carl Jung and his prophecies, but how they relate on today's developments. You have to be the judgment of that. Are these three prophecies or just the grunting of some guy out of his mind? If you don't know anything about Carl Jung, I suggest you to go to psychoanalysis or the method of psychological analysis that he developed. Apart from Sigmund Freud, even though that he was a student of Sigmund Freud, he departed from the concepts of Sigmund and dedicated the rest of his life to demonstrate through experiences that have never been explained by the psychology analysis or psychoanalysis of Mr. Sigmund Freud. It is for you then to take this as a prophecy or not. The three prophecies. When those things come nearer, I called my soul and asked her to dive down into the floods, whose distant roaring I could hear. This happened on 22nd January of the year 1914, as recorded in my Black Book. And thus she plunged into the darkness like a shot, and from the depths she called out, "Will you accept what I bring?" And I answered, "I will accept what you give. I do not have the right to judge or reject." The soul. So listen. There is old armor and the rusty gear of our fathers down here. Murderous leather trappings hanging from them. Worm-eaten lance shafts. Twisted spearheads. Broken arrows. Rotten shields. Skulls. The bones of man and horse. Old cannons, catapults, crumbling firebrands, smashed assault gear, stone spearheads, stone clubs, sharp bones, chipped arrowhead teeth. Everything the battles of yore have littered the earth with. Will you accept all this? I answered, I accepted. You know better, my soul. The soul said, I find painted stones, carved bones with magical signs, talismanic sayings on hanks of leather and small plates of lead, dirty pouches filled with teeth, human hair, and fingernails, timber slashed together, black orbs, moldy animal skins, all the superstitions hatched by dark prehistory. Will you accept all this? And I answer, I accept it all. How should I dismiss anything? The soul said to me, but I find wars, fratricide, cowardly mortal blows, torture, child sacrifice, the annihilation of whole peoples, arson, betrayal, war, rebellion. Will you accept this? And I said, also this, if it must be, how can I judge? The soul came back to me saying, I find epidemics, natural catastrophes, sunken ships, razed cities, frightful feral savagery, famines, human meanness, and fear, whole mountains of fear. So I said, so shall it be, since you give it. The soul came back to me and said, I find the treasures of all past cultures, magnificent images of God, spacious temples, paintings, papyrus rolls, sheets of parchment with the characters of bygone languages, books full of lost wisdom, hymns and chants of ancient priests, the stories told down the ages through thousands of generations. And I said, that is an entire world whose extent I cannot grasp. How can I accept it? The soul said, but you wanted to accept everything. You do not know your limits? Can you not limit yourself? And I said, I must limit myself. Who could ever grasp such wealth? The soul said, be content and cultivate your garden with modesty. And I said, I will. I see that it's not worth conquering a larger piece of the immeasurable, but a smaller one instead. A well tended small garden is better than an ill tended large garden. Both gardens are equally small when faced with the immeasurable, but unequally cared for. The soul said, take shears and prune your trees. From the floating darkness the sun of the earth hath brought, my soul gave me ancient things that point into the future. She gave me three things: the mystery of war, the darkness of magic, and the gift of religion. If you are clever, you will understand that these three things belong together. These three mean the unleashing of chaos and its power, just as they also mean the binding of chaos. War is obvious and everybody sees it. Magic is dark and no one sees it. Religion is still to come, but it will become evident. Did you think that the horrors of such atrocious warfare will come over us? Did you think that magic existed? Did you think about a new religion? I sat up for long nights and looked ahead at what was to come, and I shuddered. Do you believe me? I am not too concerned. What should I believe? What should I disbelieve? I saw and shuddered. But my spirit could not grasp the monstrous and could not conceive the extent of what was to come. The force of my longing languished, and powerless sank the harvesting hands. I felt the burden of the most terrible work of the times ahead. I saw where and how, but no word can grasp it. No will can conquer it. I could not do otherwise. I let it sink again into the depths. I cannot give it to you, and I can speak only of the way of what is to come. Little good will come to you from outside. What will come to you lies within yourself. What lies there? I would like to avert my eyes, close my ears, and deny all my senses. I would like to be someone among you who knows nothing and who never saw anything. It is too much and too unexpected, but I saw it, and my memory will not leave me alone. Yet I curtail my longing, which would like to stretch out into the future, and I return to my small garden that presently blooms, and whose extent I can measure. It shall be well tended. The future should be left to those of the future. I return to the small and the real, for this is the great way, the way of what is to come. I return to my simple reality, to my undeniable and most minuscule being, and I take a knife and hold court over everything that has grown without measure and goal. Forests have grown around me, winding plants have climbed up me, and I am completely covered by endless proliferation. The depths are inexhaustible. They give everything. Everything is as good as nothing. Keep a little and you have something. To recognize and know your ambition and your greed, to gather your craving, to cultivate it, grasp it, to make it serviceable, influence it, master it, order it, to give it interpretations and meaning is extravagant. It is lunacy, like everything that transcends in boundaries. How can you hold that which you are not? Would you really like to force everything which you are not under the yoke of your wretched knowledge and understanding? Remember that you can know yourself, and with that you know enough. But you cannot know others and everything else. Beware of knowing what lies beyond yourself, or else your presumed knowledge will suffocate the life of those who know themselves. A knower may know himself. That is his limit. With a painful slice, I cut off what I pretended to know about what lies beyond me. I excise myself from the conic interpretive loops that I gave to what lies beyond me, and my knife cuts even deeper and separates me from the meanings that I conferred upon myself. I cut down to the marrow until everything meaningful falls from me, until I am no longer as I might seem to myself, until I know only that I am without knowing what I am. I want to be poor and bare. I want to stand naked before the inexorable. I want to be my body and its poverty. I want to be from the earth and live its law. I want to be human, animal, and accept all its frights and desires. I want to throw the wailing and the blessedness of the one who stood alone with a poor unarmed body on the sunlit earth, a prey of his tribes and of the lurking wild animals, who was terrified by ghosts and dreaming of distant gods, who belonged to what was near and was enemy to the far off, who struck fire from stones, and whose herds were stolen by unknowable powers that also destroyed the crops of his fields, and who neither knew nor recognized, but who lived by what lay at hand, and received by grace what lay far off. He was a child and unsure, yet full of certainty, weak and yet blessed with enormous strength. When his God did not help, he took another, and when this one did not help either, he castigated him. And behold, the gods helped one more time. Thus I discard everything that was laden with meaning, everything divine and devilish with which chaos burdened me. Truly, it is not up to me to prove the gods and the devils and the chaotic monsters, to fit them carefully, to warily drag them with me, to count and name them, and to protect them with belief against disbelief and doubt. A free man knows only free gods and devils that are self-contained and take effect on account of their own force. If they fail to have an effect, that is their own business, and I can remove this burden from myself. But if they are effective, they need neither my protection nor my care, nor my belief. Thus, you may wait quietly to see whether they work. But if they do, be clever, for the tiger is stronger than you. You should be able to cast everything from you, otherwise you are a slave, even if you are the slave of a god. Life is free and chooses its way. It is limited enough, so do not pile up more limitation. Hence, I cut away everything confining. I stood here, and there lay the riddlesome multifariousness of the world, and the horror crept over me. Am I not the tightly bound? Is the world there not the unlimited? And I became aware of my weakness. What will poverty, nakedness, and unpreparedness be without consciousness of weakness and without horror at powerlessness? Thus I stood and was terrified, and then my soul whispered to me, "Do you not hear something?" "Anything? What should I hear?" I said. The soul said, "A ringing." And I said, "A ringing? What? I hear nothing." The soul says, "Listen harder." And I said, "Perhaps something in the left ear. What could it mean?" The soul said, "Misfortune." Okay, this is part of the book. The next chapter is called The Gift of Magic, which is when things start getting magical here in the book. And that is when I recommend prudence and prayer. Because when it comes to magic, I don't take it lightly. Spiritism and all this Ouija table and all that stuff is something that I'm concerned. But that's an analysis that you have to do if you finish the Red Book, which is a compendium of masterpieces of Gustav. But not only that, is kind of the ending of his personal search when it comes not only to the analysis of his patients, but his own travel to this world and the visions he had when you read the whole book from the beginning of the book. And the visions, like I mentioned, has to do with the First World War. which he was in. And so his experiences are very valuable. When you compare the three prophecies, when he talks about famine, disappearances, fratricide, fear, mountains of fear, and he says that every generation has to deal with its own issues, as you heard in the analysis. What does that mean? Why is it that history keeps on repeating itself? How come that we haven't changed anything since the war to end all wars? And this is the analysis I make of the three prophecies. Is that it was not difficult for him in his own revelations, using and assisting to sciences and other forms of knowledge that he described on his work. We can tell that the prophecies are totally right. He's not far away from the truth. The problem is that the Second World happened after the first, which was the war to end all wars. But it didn't. The Second World War began, Nazis took over, and National Socialism displaced the majority of the concepts in Germany. Concepts like liberalism, conservatism, communism. There were no green parties in those days. So Adolf Hitler was very plain. I hate the rest of the parties, and I don't shy to say it. I am the only option for Germany, and apparently it was until he decided to export National Socialism and imitate the grandeur of the British Empire. And when he went against Russia, well, he lost, just like Napoleon and just like many others that have tried, including American proxy war using Ukraine on the 21st century, which is nothing new because we are very close, this close to go the Third World War, and I'm pretty sure that the horrors described in the three prophecies, as you have here, are not only coming, but they also fulfilled themselves in the Second World War, and very probably it will repeat themselves in the coming Third World War, which is the Samson plan that we are seeing right now with the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense, Peter Saget, excusing himself for the second stupidity and reaction on being caught lying and demonstrating that he doesn't know what is to have a clearance in intelligence or in services, because when he committed the same mistake, this time with his brother, his wife, and his lawyer, to send important information about military operations and disclose them on unsecure method of communication or protocol, he's obviously not in understanding or in the know of what experienced people can handle when it comes to policy on foreign policy and policy of war when a foreign country has possessed the United States. You can see him sitting down with generals of the Air Force, with brigadier generals of the Army, the South Command, for example, etc., and he doesn't fit there. The fact that these generals, with way more experience politically, way more experience in warfare, way more experience also in corruption, because that is not to excuse what has happened before in the last 25 years since 2001, the war on terror. But to see this guy that denies publicly his mistakes that in any other person could have had immediate destitution of office, a proper investigation on why he committed such idiotic lack of understanding of what protocol and clearances are when it comes to intelligence, Pentagon, or a Secretary of State or a Secretary of Defense, demonstrate that the government of Donald Trump is putting the entire world at risk. I don't think that 13 billionaires that have no idea how to operate and institutions, how they develop, what is the intricate development on how institutions work from the command of the institutions down to the bottom, and from the bottom up to the head of the institutions in healthcare, in education, of course, when it comes to weaponry and Department of Defense, Department of Justice, and Secretary of State, etc. So, being the Secretary of Defense, or such an important charge in office, and these kids in charge, which are billionaires and are using artificial intelligence in order for them to fit the profile. Well, none of them fit the profile. They're nothing but children with the power to enact and to begin an atomic war or to support people that are way superior in experience and way more influencers than they are. They believe they're superheroes because they have a position in power of the most powerful country in the world. But the problem is that the two prophecies that Gustav Jung is explaining for us, the country and the world today, are that easy to tell? Are we going again to a third world war? It's obvious that we are, especially with the direction the Donald Trump administration is going. And this lack of concern when the directives and protocols of security, national security, these are issues of national security, are not being prevented, this person should be destitute of his position, arrested, an investigation opened, and gone to jail, because people have gone to jail for way less than that or destituted of their positions. When President Donald Trump keep him, like it's saying that it's gonna take away Elon Musk anytime now, that is something that we the people don't believe whatsoever. We know Donald Trump and we know how he obeys to the people on power with power, even more powerful than him. That's why he has collected a lot of billions of dollars, as Senator Murray so expressed in the commission, and the Senate commission, when he was saying how Donald Trump have made himself richer and his friends in the first 6 weeks of his administration. There's many things that are happening. The United States is withdrawing from the Russia Ukraine issue. The so-called meeting in London, it was not successful whatsoever. The president of the United States didn't went. He sent an envoy. And as Marco Rubio have said, he's not interested anymore, or the government, the administration is not interested anymore in keeping on running to gain accords between Russia and Ukraine that are not happening, because now the ball is in Europe, and the European Union has this hot potato. It has $800 billion that are going to make Europe even more poor than is becoming, because third world banana countries policies are being applied in Europe, with the except of Viktor Orban, who is protesting and is calling for a referendum in order for Europe to decide. That is calling for the division of the European Union, which is what the oligarchs and the elites in the European Union do not want. But the things are getting so high, and the tensions are getting so high, and the infantile, childish approach of this administration is putting the whole war not only at war, but against the United States policies, because we all know that the United States is possessed by the by the state of Israel. So we cannot call it United States of America, but the United States of Israel, as we call it in this show, because the influence of Israel in 37 states, the fact that the universities are being closed only for Zionist people can study in the United States. Nobody else can study. As you know, this morning, President Trump still insists on defunding Harvard University for standing its ground in defense of its students. Its budget, of course, they want to protect the budget, because the president just published recently, less than 24 hours ago, that Harvard is a communist and is a supporter of Hamas, and they cannot receive any funding as long as it's a supporter of Hamas, and the poor Jews and the students are all in danger, which is not being proven. Is on the contrary, who's going to protect us from the Zionists in the United States, in England, in Canada, everywhere. This is a colonization program. So what I see and I read the three prophecies, I'm not surprised. It's just that is so accurate when it's said. The only word that is not there is what is happening, because maybe he didn't saw it there and it was genocide. But according to International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court, it is genocide. And according to the Convention on Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide of 1948 and ratified in 1951, for all the countries, including the United States and Israel, they are committing this crime, like they have disregarded for the last 18 months any international law, because they say that the oligarchs and the elites are in charge. Only the oligarchs and the elites are in charge, they know better. And they're using artificial intelligence, which was not known in the time of the three prophecies. So I found worse: fratricide, cowardly mortal blows, torture, child sacrifice, which is what's happening in Gaza, the annihilation of whole peoples, arson, betrayal, war, rebellion. And that's what is happening. Rebellion to the United Nations Constitutional Charter, rebellion to the Rome Statute, rebellion to all the organizations, including Human Rights Watch and many others, that were created after 1948, especially after the Nuremberg trial, and abuses of medicine or doctors like Mengele in decisions, leave us no other option but to understand that Carl Jung was right, and that his three prophecies have completed, and apparently it won't stop. So it's up to us now, to us, the country and the world, to react today to this matter in this special edition of Author's Corner. I have nothing else to say for now. We're going to analyze many other issues. What do you think about this matter? Were these prophecies? All right, guys, hope to see you in the next edition. If you want a book for me to read, I will read it for you in this show. If you are the author, it will be better. And it is for me to decide if I read it or not. And like I said, this Author's Corner is for authors of the 21st century to inspire us in order to get a better understanding. Now that is elections time in Canada next Monday, the 28th of April 2025, in order to choose a prime minister. I personally gonna vote in blank because I don't see, except for myself, a candidate that can deliver for Canadians in order to give an example to us, the country and the world, how the world can be and thrive as a civilization. Because what we are seeing now, according to the state of Israel, what civilization is nothing but the three prophecies that we just read. All right, guys. Hope to see you next time in the next edition of Author's Corner. Or bye bye bye. Hasta pronto.